Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. I am so excited that you could join me this morning. I'm really going to make it a content-packed webinar for you. Really looking forward to delivering all of this content and helping you out. We'll get started in just a few minutes. We'll let people get onto the call. But in the meantime, if you can just type into the chat box, let me know that you can hear me okay and that you can see me okay, that the feed's all working properly. And while you're there, why not just let me know where you're joining us from today. Now would also be a good time to grab yourself a glass of water or whatever, settle in, grab a pen, turn off all your distractions. And like I said, we will get started very shortly. Just give people a little bit of a chance to join. Pardon me. All right, so we're starting to see a few people joining the call now, which is great. As I said, if you can just drop in the chat box, let me know, 1, that you can hear me, 2, that you can see me, and 3, where you're from. Just be interesting to see where people are joining us from today. Awesome, guys. I'm recognizing some names here. Good to see you again. As I said, if you can just let me know in the chat box that you can hear me, 2, that you can see me, and 3, where you're from. My apologies, that was my monitor. I'm monitoring this on another device and I hadn't turned the sound down on that. So I know that I can hear myself, but yes, it would be nice to hear that you guys can hear me as well. There we go, starting to come in loud and clear. Good to hear, Mick. Chemrose AB, wow, Renee. Phoenix, Arizona, North Carolina, a few people from the US, that's good to see. Hawaii, oh, very nice. Hi, Jill, nice to see you again too. Well, I can't see you, but nice to chat to you. It is nice to see some of the same people coming back again and again. That's great, but we've got a lot of new people today as well, which is really exciting. All right, so it looks like everyone can hear me loud and clear, and we are past the start time now, so I might make a start on the content because we've got a lot to get through, and I don't want to hold you guys up any longer than I have to today. So we will get into the presentation, and we'll take it from there. All right, just let me flick over to my presentation. All right, so you guys should be seeing my screen now. If not, by all means, let me know in the comments. I will be monitoring the chat box as we go along. So feel free to drop any questions into that chat box as we progress, and I will do my best to keep up with them. If I miss them, there will be a Q&A at the end, so don't stress too much. You will have plenty of time to catch up on anything that you don't quite understand as we go through. All right, so this webinar is all about the coming Google changes and how they're going to, or potentially how they're going to affect you. All right, so there's been a lot of talk across the web lately about these big changes that Google are making. And some of that talk is beating it up a little bit. Some of it is very justified. So for the average person out there, it might be hard to cut through all of that chat and understand exactly what this means. Hence why we put this webinar on. We've gone and done the research, looked into exactly what it means, how it potentially will affect you, what you can do about it, and basically put this together to help you guys make sense of it all. All right, so what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about exactly what those major Google changes are. And we're also going to discuss why Google is making those changes, okay? We know that Google doesn't just willy-nilly make changes. There's always a reason behind why they make the changes. And if we sit back and have a look at why they're making the changes, then we might be able to predict a little bit of where they're going and therefore what we should be doing to make sure our sites stay in favor. Okay. Another thing to note here is, although we're talking about Google specifically today, the other search engines will do very, very similar things. Google tends to be a bit of a leader here, and whatever they do, the other search engines tend to follow. Okay, so if Google's saying something's important, it's pretty well important across the board to all the search engines. We're going to have a look at the impact that these changes could have on your site. Okay, what exactly could it mean to your site? We're going to go over how you can know whether you're affected, and if so, how much. And we're going to look at what you can do to protect yourself and your site and potentially even benefit from these changes. And the reason I say benefit from these changes is because if you take action on them and make sure your site is ready and in line with Google, what Google is looking for, and others don't, then that's going to give you a competitive advantage over other sites out there. Okay, so it's well worth doing. All right, before we get into the content as such, I just want to give you a little bit of a background on where I've come from, just so you can get a feel for where I fit within this space and whether you think I'm the right person to listen to, I guess. So for me, it all started pretty normally. Well, that picture obviously is not where it started. That's where I am at the moment. But let's just put that aside for the moment. I just want to remind you who we're talking about here. So I went pretty much the normal path initially. I went out of school. I went to uni. That's college for those of you who are in the US. Got myself a degree, went into a stable job in the armed services, pretty much went straight into computers because my background and my love is computers and information technology. So yeah, I got the normal 9-to-5 stable career-oriented job. Eventually I met the love of my life and married her. That's my wife, Helena, there. So yeah, still on the standard path, working the 9-to-5 job, have the wife. And eventually we had a little family as well. That's our little daughter, Isabella. Now, this is where things took a little bit of a twist. Unfortunately, Isabella had a number of health issues from the time she was 6 months old, and I spent a lot of time in hospital with her. Thankfully, by this time, I had moved out of the armed services and into a consulting role, which allowed me a little bit more flexibility in terms of being able to take a bit more time off when I needed to spend time with her. But it was still very, very difficult working the 9-to-5 job and having to, at a moment's notice, drop everything and run to hospital to be with my daughter and my wife. And unfortunately, the outcome wasn't good. Isabella died at the age of 13 and a half months, which was, very difficult for both my wife and I, and really rocked our world, as you can imagine. And we really had to sit back and assess, what are we doing with our lives and where are we going? Why are we doing this? So we started on a process of reprioritizing and basically rebuilding our life. We set about creating plans that would give us a business around our lifestyle rather than fitting our lifestyle around a job. So we started a business back in 2000 alongside my day job. We started dabbling with bits and pieces, originally some software development, then we got into websites around the 2005 mark. And from there, we basically just kept learning our craft and we kept refocusing exactly what it was we were doing. We were testing the waters, I guess, but we kept going because we had a reason to keep going. And here's the reason, effectively. We eventually did have another son. This is Daniel. He's now 7. He's well, almost 7. He'll be 7 in May, and he's an awesome little boy. And when he come along, we really started to step things up because I knew that I didn't want to miss him growing up, regardless of the stuff that had happened before. I was hoping that we wouldn't have another sickness with Daniel, and thankfully so far we haven't, and I don't expect to. But I really just wanted to spend time with him and watch him grow up and be there rather than being away so much. So that's why we've kept plugging away at the business and building a business that will basically allow me to work from anywhere and spend more time with him. And, we've made a decision that we want to homeschool again so we can spend more time with him. This is me teaching him woodwork. And, I love this sort of thing. One, I love teaching. And two, I just love spending time with him. So, again, this is the reason why we're building our business and building it online. And there's our happy little family at Christmas time. So, again, this is all about, we've taken that journey from the corporate world into the business world so that we can live the lifestyle we want and not be tied to someone else's timeframes. We're also about giving back. We do a lot of speaking. We've spent a lot of time learning WordPress and learning all the ins and outs of it. We've spent a lot of time learning what works for business websites, both through building our own business and through a lot of other training as well. And we like to give that knowledge back. We like to help others on that journey as well. It's been a real struggle for us doing it ourselves along the way. And, we really want to make sure that we can help others shortcut that process. So if they've got a reason why, then we've got a way to help them. So yeah, we do a lot of speaking at WordCamps. We organise we help organise the local WordPress meetup. You'll find us around the traps giving back in Facebook groups, etc. Some of you would have experienced that, others not so much yet. And this is a shot of me doing Tough Mudder. I also like to push myself physically. As you can see there, I completed Tough Mudder last year. I've also done the Oxfam 100K walk 3 times now, and pretty disappointed I'm not actually doing it this year, so I have to get back into it next year. But the reason I do that, I guess, one, from my defense background, but two, I just like to push myself. And these sort of things, although they sound like a physical thing, to me, they're actually a mental battle more than anything. So, the body will go as long as the mind will go. So this is my way of training my mind to continue to push through those adversities and continue to push, because at the end of the day, business is not always a smooth path. There's going to be obstacles, okay? Especially online businesses, there's ups and downs. So I like to use the physical side of things to keep my mind in that space of pushing through adversity and continuing to overcome those obstacles. And this really is pretty much for me what sums it all up. You've got to have a why in business, okay? If you don't have a big why, then the obstacles will get the better of you, okay? Like this Google change, like the hundreds of different changes and adversities we face in our business. To me, my why is summed up in this picture. It's the freedom to pretty much live wherever we want, spend time at the beach, and of course, my lovely little son, and my wife, of course, as well. Unfortunately, she's not in the picture, but really this just sums up the freedom and the goal that I'm aiming for. So that's me in a nutshell. So let's get back to the actual training that we're here for. Sorry, just checking the chat box quickly. No questions so far. That's good. All right, so moving on. What are the changes that Google are making, and why is this such a big deal? All right. The first change that's really caused a lot of stir is that Google has announced that mobile friendly will be a ranking factor. Now, this caused a stir for a number of reasons. One, Google rarely ever gives us an insight into where they're going with their ranking algorithm. They normally just make changes and everyone has to figure out what the heck happened. But in this case, they actually announced on their webmaster blog that they will be making ranking mobile friendly a ranking factor. And there's the actual text of it. Starting April 21, we will be expanding our use of mobile friendliness as a ranking signal. This change will affect mobile searches in all languages worldwide and will have a significant impact on our search results. Okay, and there's the link there if you want to go and actually check out the announcement. But basically what they were doing is forecasting to the world that the mobile friendly tag that they had been experimenting with, and not everyone would have seen this in the search results. It was only done in some areas and only in some languages. But for those of you that did see it, there was a tag in the mobile search results that said mobile friendly. Well, obviously those experiments proved successful enough for them that they have decided to make that an actual ranking factor. So from April 21, if your site in their eyes is not mobile friendly, it will be moved down the search results. So that could have quite a big impact. All right, the other change that has quietly slipped through as well, that sort of falls into this same bucket and is certainly going to have an impact as well, is that they're now experimenting with the slow tag in results. So here's an image that shows some search results where the slow tag shows up. And as you can see, 2 of those there are marked as slow. Now, why is this significant? Well, for a couple of reasons. Again, the mobile friendly tag started out as an experiment and is now officially part of the algorithm. So it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to think that if this proves to be useful in the search results as well, that this will end up be part of the algorithm. So again, Google is flagging to you that they don't think that people want to go to slow sites. And as we'll see later, most people don't want to either. So again, you know, we've now got 2 things that we need to look at that are important to mobile browsers particularly, that may affect how our site ranks in the search results that Google displays. All right. So why would Google do this? Again, we need to understand where they're coming from so we know not only how to address the surface level of the issue, but so that we can get ahead of the game and actually you know, give them what they're looking before they're really looking for it. At the end of the day, Google's in the business of giving their customers, being people who use the search engine, what they're looking for, when and where they're looking for it. Okay, and this is the important thing, where they're looking for it. So it's no use Google serving up results that will work for a desktop if the person doing the search is on a mobile, and those sites aren't going to work for mobile. Okay, so Google is very smart. They know that their business relies on people coming back and using their search engine. Okay, so if they're not serving up the results that people actually want to see, that solve the person's problem, that actually work for the person on the device they're using, then those people are going to go to a different search engine or a different path to find what they're looking for. Once that happens, Google's ad revenue starts to take a dive. And they're not in the business of letting that happen, let me tell you. Tara, what does slow mean? Yes, we will get to slow later in this presentation. I'll actually go through what that means as best as we can understand it. And this, I will say up front, that Google hasn't actually defined what slow is. It's a comparative thing, but we will get to that in a few slides' time. So Google themselves have actually come out and said as much, that they're really serious about mobile. They've said, as more people use mobile devices to access the internet, our algorithms have to adapt to these usage patterns. And that was part of that same announcement that announced that mobile friendly was going to be part of the rankings. Okay, so they recognize that there's a growing trend towards people browsing on mobile, and they want to be still giving the best results for those people on those devices. So let's have a look at, is mobile really that important? because we deal with a lot of people who say, "Oh, I don't need to make my site mobile friendly. My browsers are, my users are still desktop based." Well, let's just have a look. I mean, across the board, there's been a lot of studies done showing what the different levels of traffic are. Okay, and here's one from Search Marketing Expo. It's one of the slides from one of the presentations there that has been tracking the organic search traffic. So basically this is saying how much traffic is going to most or sites on average via search. Okay, so out of the total search volume through Google, I think this one was just Google, how much of that is coming from desktop and how much is coming from mobile? And you can see that the mobile is trending up, the desktop is trending down, and we're now at a point, late last year, we were at a point where it's about 30% of the total organic search traffic is done on mobile. Okay, so if that trend continues, it won't be too long and the search traffic will be roughly 50-50 from mobile and desktop. Now, will it continuing that path? Who knows? But given everyone these days seems to have a smartphone and seems to do a lot of browsing around the place, it's not inconceivable to think that the percentage of organic search traffic from mobile is going to continue to grow. Okay, so we can't ignore it. Here's another graph that most people have seen something similar to this. It says last year the number of users on mobile, web users on mobile, actually surpassed the number of web users on desktops. Okay, so this is not just search, this is internet use in general. But as you can see, the rise of internet use on mobiles is just astronomical. And as it continues to grow, of course, there's going to be more searches done from that platform and comparatively less searches done from the desktop. I mean, we're very much a mobile society now. Everyone is, on the go all the time. And rarely are we sitting at our desks, at our laptops anymore. Maybe while we're sitting at work, and really people shouldn't be doing too many Google searches there. But, we've all got our phones on the way to work. We've all got our phones on the way home. A lot of us sit with tablets in bed. It's just, most of us know this intrinsically, but the numbers are also supporting it. Mobile internet usage is on the rise, and it's, overtaken desktop, and search won't be far behind that as well. Okay, so another look at how the breakdown is. This is basically a survey that was done of all internet users, well, a sample of internet users, obviously, but extrapolated to internet users in general, and basically saying what devices do people who actively use the internet own. So you can see 91% of people who own, it's got the actual what they are chopped off, but that first one, the 91%, says 91% of people who use the internet own a computer, whether it be a laptop or a desktop. 80% own a smartphone. So that second one is smartphone. And this is the important one. This means that, of all the people on the internet, most of them, or 4/5, own a smartphone. So if they own a smartphone, if they're not using it already, it won't be long before they are using it to browse the internet and to search. So again, it's all supporting the fact that mobile is a very, very important platform in terms of, making sure that your site is, one, going to be in the search engines, and two, is going to be usable for a mobile browser. Okay, and here's just another way of looking at things. This one is looking at why search is important. It's basically saying search is the most common starting point for mobile research. So basically when someone's out and about and they're looking for something, 48% of people start with a search engine. 33% go straight to a branded website because they know that brand and that's what they're looking for. And 26% go to a branded app. So basically, if a JB Hi-Fi or something like that has an app, they'll start there. But basically what it's saying is pretty well half of people who are looking for something when they're on their mobile will start with search. Okay, so again, it's very, very important that you are in those search results and rank well in those search results. And you can see that there is a bit of variance across industry, but it's still pretty high and pretty close. Now, this one was a really interesting one, I must admit. I'm not quite sure where I happened across this, but when I saw it, I just thought this is so real. This is one, again, we're getting back to the slow. Okay, so very interesting premise that this survey was done on in the first place, but basically someone went out there and said, all right, so what sort of behavior do people exhibit when a site loads slowly on their phone? And this was specifically around mobile devices, okay? And you can see, 62%, just over half, behave more or less normally. So we don't like it, but we put up with it. But that means that, 38% have a reaction when the site loads slowly. So at the lower end, we've just got people cursing at their phone, screaming at their phone. But the one that really shocked me was that 4% actually throw their phone. Now, that is a pretty violent reaction, I must admit. But look, the big takeaway from here is if your site loads slowly on a mobile, odds are that people are going to, basically a third of people are going to get very upset, which means they're probably not going to stick around. Okay, they're going to go and find another site that actually loads relatively quickly on the phone and leave you behind. So it's not just a matter of, fixing your site for mobile to make sure it gets a good ranking in the search engines. You also have to look from a user perspective that when people land on your site on a mobile, is it going to work for them, or is it just going to drive them away? Okay, so although I know I pitched this webinar at looking at the Google changes, we do also need to look at it from a user perspective as well, which at the end of the day is what Google is trying to force us to do anyway. They're basically saying, hey, look, we think these things are important because our users think these things are important, so you better think these things are important as well. Okay. So basically the upshot, Google takes mobile seriously. And if Google takes mobile seriously, the other search engines will take mobile seriously, and we should take mobile seriously. All right, so let's have a look at what the potential impact of these changes is. As I said, guys, if you've got any questions as we go along, by all means, drop them into the chat box. I will monitor the chat box and I'll try and answer them as we go. So let me just have a quick look at that and a quick drink. All right, so it seems like people are pretty well keeping up at the moment, which is great. Okay, so let's get going into looking at what the impact of these changes is then. At the end of the day, a drop of even a few positions in ranking could all but dry up your organic search traffic. And I'll go through some graphs and some examples in a moment that show just how much of an impact it has as you shuffle down the rankings. And on the other side with the slow tag, I mean, how many people do you think are really going to click on a link that's tagged slow? I mean, who in their right mind is going to click on one of those if there's another link next to it that supposedly gives us the answer we want, but it's not tagged slow? I mean, I don't know about you, but I would much rather click on a site that I think is going to load a bit faster than one that I'm being told is going to load slowly. I've got better things to do with my day than sit around waiting for a site to load. So even though your site may still rank well with the slow tag, it's probably not going to get the click-through rate that it would normally get for that position in the rankings. So I'm not sure how many of you have seen these sort of graphs before, but there's been a lot of studies done on basically how much click-through you can expect depending on where you're ranking for a particular search within Google. So basically what this is saying is that Moz, who are one of the big search engine research people across the web, They do both analysis, and they do tracking and stuff as well, and they do a lot of education. But they've done the stats across this, and they've determined that basically it doesn't really matter whether it's mobile or desktop. There's not much of a difference in terms of click-through rates. Essentially what this is saying is, look, if you get position number 1 for a particular search, you can expect to get about 30% of the people who do that search to click through to your site. If you're in position number 2, you can expect about 15. Position number 3, about 10. Position number 4 goes down to probably about 7.5%. Position 5's 5%, and then below there, you're pretty well insignificant. I mean, 6 to 10 is 5 combined, so it's about 1% each, and then flattens from there. So, well, the second page is about 10 results to a page, so you net down to 0.5%. So really, once you get down past position 5, your search traffic really drops off. So unless it's a really, really well trafficked keyword, you're going to get very little traffic. Okay, so you can see that if you're in position 1 and you get penalized because you're not mobile friendly, and you drop down to position even 3 or 4, that's a massive drop in your traffic from that search term. And what's that mean in terms of dollars? Well, I put this little example together, and I just picked a semi-random search term. So I've picked Life Coach Melbourne. Okay, now this search term has 590 searches per month at the moment. Okay, so it's not a particularly big one, but it is a particularly targeted one, which someone with a good level of SEO targeting could potentially have got to position number 1 or number 2 on. Okay, working on an average conversion rate of about 5%. So that means that for every 100 people that come through to your site, you get 5 that will sign up as a customer. I've taken a customer value of $900, so basically it's just a number I've plucked, but essentially I would expect a life coach would work with someone over a number of visits over a period of time. I just took an average of $150 a session. Pardon me. And what's that work out? That's for about 6 sessions as an average customer value. Now, obviously your figures will vary somewhat, but I just want to run through this as an example so that you can see some real dollars behind how this could potentially impact you. Sorry, just looking at the chat box. Mick, are those native search results only, i.e. not paid? Yes, Mick, they are the organic search results. Obviously the click-through rates for pardon me, for paid ads are a little bit different, but because this is really focused around the impact on Google's organic search results, I've only looked at the click-through rates for the organic. All right. So if we take those sort of assumptions, and like I said, this is only a fairly low search volume. There are, obviously other keywords that have got much greater search volume. So where you end up, obviously, is also a factor of how many other people are trying to play in this market, how well you're optimized, all that sort of stuff. So taking aside how you got to these positions, let's just say you were able to be number 1 in the organic search results for this particular term. With a click-through rate of 30%, you would get 177 visitors per month or thereabouts, which at a 5% conversion rate is about 9 customers a month, almost $8,000 worth of revenue attributable to that search per month. All right. Now, if you get a ranking penalty of even just 2 places, that suddenly drops you down to a click-through rate of about 10%, which gives you just 59 visitors turning into 3 customers, and you're now down to just over $2,500 revenue. And the story gets worse if you get a penalty of another 2 places and get dropped down to 5. Then you're down to 5% click-through and just over $1,300 revenue. So you can see it's made a massive difference. And if you get booted further than that and you're down to 1% click-through rate, then basically your income has all but dried up. Okay, so this is not some airy-fairy, oh, it might have no impact. It could very well have an impact if your business relies on organic search traffic. Okay. So how do you know if you're affected? Well, firstly, is your site mobile friendly? If it's not, then you're probably going to be affected. And if your site is not mobile friendly, how much of your traffic is from mobile search? Okay, so just because your site is not mobile friendly doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have the massive impact. If all of your traffic is on desktop for some strange reason, then you can pretty well ignore it. But you'd want to make sure by looking at your analytics that that is the case, because if your analytics are showing that you do get a reasonable amount of mobile traffic, then you need to start considering it. Okay, you can't just bury your head in the sand and say, oh, but no, I think all of my traffic comes desktop. This is not an area you want to be thinking about. This is an area you want to be sure about. Also, does your site load quickly? And I mean, this is something you can check yourself just visually, you know, load your page in different browsers on your mobile, etc., and just get a feel for it. But there are also a number of test tools that will give you actual hard numbers on how quickly your site's loading. Okay, so let's have a look at some of those tools that we can look at. Google themselves have put out a test tool for mobile friendliness. Okay, you can see the URL down the bottom here. It's one of the webmaster tools. And basically, if you go to that URL and then you type in your URL, it will come back and give you a indication of whether they think your page is mobile friendly or not. Now, thankfully, our site is, which is great. Now, something to note about this too is that this tool tests the page. It doesn't test the site as a whole, it tests the page that you put in. So this is saying our home page is mobile friendly. To be really safe, we would go through and we would check all our services page and all our major pages that we want as well, and make sure each and every one of them individually comes up with the mobile friendly tag. Okay, so from this we can say we're great. Our homepage is mobile friendly. We're not going to get a penalty from Google in the search rankings for mobile. We're comfortable. However, not everyone's going to get the same result. And as you can see, even some of the bigger companies are not there yet. So this one's saying basically the text is too small to read. And as you can see from the image, it's just basically taken their desktop site and scaled it down, which is pretty much unusable on a mobile phone, at least without pinching and zooming. The other thing, the links are too close together. So, I mean, looking at all those links there, how the heck would you get an individual one of them with a finger that's probably going to cover about 5 links in one go? Okay, so and then the other one is a more technical thing that's yeah, just mobile viewport not set is one of the ways that the code of your site tells the mobile that it's set up for mobile. That's not something you will change directly. That would be a theme related thing. But yes, this page from Google will give you a fair indication of, you know, what the problems are, and as you can see on the right there, it also gives you a number of steps to potentially solve those problems, and it depends on whether you did it yourself or you got someone to build it or whatnot. So they're not just leaving you hanging; they will actually give you an indication of what they can do to fix it. The other thing you need to do to see how much you're affected is you need to go into your Google Analytics, okay? So if you go into your Google Analytics account and you go to the acquisition area and come down to the traffic area, all traffic, and under the source/medium, click on that. And then the other thing you need to do here is you need to set a secondary dimension and set that to be device category. And you can see that in the second column here. That's not the default for this view. You need to actually set that. But once you've done that, you can see the row I've highlighted here is the Google organic traffic from mobile. And you can see how much of your traffic is actually coming from that. Now, in our case, it's about 5% of our traffic is coming from mobile search. So, you know, it's enough that I would be looking at that and saying, well, we better be, you know, abiding by Google's rules and being mobile friendly here. And as you saw in the previous slides, we are, thankfully, so we're not going to get impacted there. But, you know, if your results will be different, obviously. And if you're finding a high percentage of your traffic is coming from the Google organic mobile and you're not coming up clean on the Google mobile friendliness checker, then you really need to start looking at what you have to do to clean your site up and get it ready. Okay. Alternatively, if you find that, you know, Google organic mobile is just not even in your list here, or is way down the bottom and is not bringing you any traffic, then you may be able to leave it for now. But I would suspect there won't be too many people in that boat. So what about page speed then? And this gets back to the question that was asked earlier about what is slow. Okay, now there are plenty of tools to test page speed online. Google themselves have a page speed tester. Pingdom is another, you know, very popular one. GTmetrix has a great one, and there are plenty of others out there as well. And all of them do similar sorts of jobs and give you different views of what's going on. Now, most of them will give you some sort of waterfall chart as well with a whole bunch of stuff in it you're probably never ever going to understand or use. So they probably drill into more detail than you need, but at the end of the day, it will give you a page load number, like a speed, how many seconds it takes to load. And a lot of them will also give you a ranking. Now, I personally found that some of those rankings are a bit arbitrary, and they certainly do vary from browser to browser. You know, when we put our page into all of these tools, some of them come back with anywhere from a B. I think we got an A on some of the areas, but we're finding that even some of the tools were reporting Fs for different, for different tests. So they can be a little bit hard to understand sometimes. You really need to just look at what are the things that you can do something about, what are the major recommendations that maybe you can do something about, and just, you know, work on the theory of good enough is good enough. You're never going, it's one of those things you're never going to get at 100%. You're never going to get the complete A+ on everything. At least not without a heck of a lot of time and money being spent. And really, it gets to that point of diminishing returns. So try and get it up there pretty well. If you can get your page to load within, you know, about 3 to 4 seconds, then you're probably all right. If it's taking a lot longer than that, then you really need to look at it. But yeah, if you can get it down to that level, getting it down again, that next bit, it might give you some gains, but again, you're going to spend a lot of money to get, you know, the half second, the quarter second improvement. And unless you're an Amazon or something like that, where, you know, their revenue really does jump when they do that sort of thing, it's probably not worth it for the smaller businesses. Pardon me. Just a question here, Michelle. How do I change mobile viewport on WordPress site? That will be set as part of your theme, Michelle. It's not something you normally do. It's embedded in the theme code. So the easiest way to change it is to change your theme. If your theme's not mobile friendly, then, you know, get a mobile friendly theme. Otherwise, you really need to talk to a developer to dig in and you know, set that. Just checking to see if there's any other questions here before we move on. No, looking pretty good at the moment. All right, so we will move on. So what can you do if you are affected. Okay, so we've basically been through, what the changes are. We've worked out how much they're going to potentially affect us. Now we need to look at what we can do to protect our rankings and potentially even improve because other people are going to drop down. Okay, so number one is to review your site to determine if you have any issues. So basically make sure it is mobile friendly in Google's eyes. Make sure that it loads quickly. And really you want to go beyond that as well and really look at it from a customer perspective as well. And just, if you were a customer looking at your site on mobile and desktop as well, but let's focus on mobile, would you be happy to stick around that site? Would it do the job for you? Or would you look at it and go, you know what, no, it's time to go somewhere else? Pardon me. You need to understand the cause of any issues that come up. So if Google, reports your site as not mobile friendly, you need to understand why it's saying that, what it is that you can, so you can know what you can do about it. Also, if, the page speed testers are saying your page is slow, you need to understand what's causing it to be slow. There are a number of factors that go together to determine the page load speed of a site, okay? And it's no use charging off and looking at image optimization if the problem is that your host just has, really, really bad throughput and can't serve your pages quickly. Okay, so you need to know which are the issues that you need to address. And the other thing to remember here is that the tools don't always give you the insights you need to be able to understand the issues. They'll report the raw results and they'll potentially point, in the terms of the page speed, they'll potentially point you at what they think are the issues, but that may not be the issue that you need to address. They're looking at it from a technical level, and they might say something like, oh, you need to minify your JavaScripts and your CSS, and you probably look at that and scratch your head and go, what the heck does that mean? And at the end of the day, that may not be the biggest gain for you. The bigger gain might be that you optimize your images so that you're actually sending less data. Okay, so you need to dig behind the raw data that the tools give you and understand the real issues. Then you need to fix the underlying issues. Pardon me. All right, and as I said, this is an opportunity to increase your search rankings. If you make sure that you comply with what Google's looking for and others don't, then they're going to slip down the rankings, and as they slip down, that's going to push you up, okay? So it's not just a matter of trying to hold on to where you are. You could actually benefit out of these if you take the initiative now. And remember, these changes, or at least the mobile-friendly impacting the search results, are kicking in on April 21. So you've got a little bit of time up your sleeve, but not a lot. It's the sort of thing you want to jump on right now because some of these issues will take time to solve. And this is where we can help. Excuse me. So we can do a full website review for you. So this is not just running the tools from Google and from the page speed and whatnot, but we can actually dig in and look at all of the issues that might be causing your page to be slow, that might be causing your site to be unfriendly to mobiles. Sorry, just looking, Caitlin, does having regularly updated content on the site still count with Google? Yes, Caitlin, it still does make a difference. Again, as to how much of a difference it makes to the ranking algorithm, we really don't know that. That's, there's a lot of speculation around how much that's factored in. But it certainly helps, especially if that content is relevant. And Google starts to see your site as an authority. It will help with your ranking, but the mobile friendliness is going to be a factor. So you might still get a good ranking on desktop, but if your site's not mobile friendly, it won't get the same ranking on mobile. It'll drop right down. Okay. So back to how we can help. As I said, we can do a full website review. So looking at first and foremost what Google thinks, but then also from a customer perspective, and then digging in behind the scenes and looking at why are you getting those results and what the real issues are. We can give you detailed recommendations on how to fix that. Pardon me. And there's the link for it. So what I'd like to do now is just drop over and show you the website review, or show you a bit about the website review for those of you that would like some help in making sure you're ready. Okay, so this is the site. When you click on that link I showed you before, it'll come over here, thenewsolopreneur.com/website-review. And basically what we do is we'll have a look at the overall look and feel of your website. So as much as it's important that Google still sends traffic your way, when that traffic gets there, your site is then responsible for turning them into a customer or sending them away. Okay, so if your overall look and feel is professional and it's, you know, nice and clean, then people are going to stick around. But if it's not mobile friendly, you know, it's hard to read, or it's cluttered, or it just doesn't look right, then people aren't going to stick around long. So we will go through, you know, how your site is presented and what you can do to improve that. We'll certainly go through, you know, how your site appears on small screens, mobile, tablets, etc. And this is where we're really addressing those issues around the Google changes that are coming. So, you know, does it actually work on mobile? Do we need to change something there? Even if it is mobile responsive, are there bits and pieces of it that still aren't quite right that need to be addressed? We'll have a look at the site navigation and the calls to action. So this is all about, is it easy for customers to get around your site? Do they understand where to go next? And does your site lead people into taking the action that you want them to take? Okay, it's all well and good to get people to your site, but if they get there and they look at it and they go, oh, that was fun, and move off, then it's no use. You've got to have that path that's leading them from wherever they land on your site through to, you know, signing up, to becoming a customer, whatever it is. You know, whatever your goal is, your whole site needs to be moving them towards that goal. We will review all of your plugins. Now, this is one area where it can really impact the speed of your site. So we'll have a good look at what you've got there. Is there anything that's superfluous? You know, is there anything that's potentially slowing your site down? Is there anything that's potentially going to cause a conflict that could, you know, break your site, etc.? We will have a look at the image optimization. And again, this is one of the big things that will slow down your site. If your images aren't optimized for your theme, then you're probably serving up too much data, which means your site is going to slow down. We will look at the page speed test and we'll see if, you know, you're at risk of getting the slow tag. But these ones before will actually go into the why you're getting that result. And basically, at the end of it all, you'll get a screen recording of the review. So we do these reviews live over Skype screen share. We record them and we send you the recording afterwards. So you can go over and over again and dig in and get all of those little bits that you may have missed the first time round. You know, it's very hard to try and keep up and take notes all the way. So we provide that recording so that you can go back and review it at your leisure. There's just some testimonials there. So basically the price at the moment, this is a webinar special, is $197. You get the live website review by a WordPress expert, me. You get your site reviewed from a customer and a Google perspective. So this is not just the technical, hey, does it surface level meet Google's requirements? This is digging in and looking at it from a customer level, from a Google level, and also from the back-end technical level, which a lot of people will not be able to do for you. You get some detailed recommendations about what you should do to improve your site. And as I said, you get the session recording emailed to you after the session. There's some questions there. Do you get a written report? No, this is not a written review. This is a live screen recorded review. So you get the screen recording instead of a written report. How long will it take? The reviews generally run about 45 minutes, but allow an hour just in case you've got questions that we need to go into, etc., etc. Okay. What we need to provide, in order for me to do a full review, I need to get into the back end of your site. I need to look at how it's set up. I need to look at the coding. I need to look at the plugins, etc. So you will need to give me a WordPress admin login. You can provide that on the call. If you're not comfortable providing that over email, that's fine. And do I do non-WordPress sites? No, guys, sorry, I do WordPress only. So if your site is not on WordPress, I'm sorry, you'll have to go and use the tools yourself and try and understand what it is that's causing you any potential issues. But if your site is on WordPress, then yes, definitely I'm your guy. And again, there's just the sign up link. So I've got some questions coming through. Michelle, if my site is not optimized for mobile and I get no mobile search anyway, will Google push my rankings down on desktop if you don't fix the mobile version? Short answer, Michelle, no. The desktop rankings and the mobile rankings are going to be separate now. That's pretty much what Google is flagging, is that they are going to serve up results that are relevant to the device that people are searching on. So yeah, if you get no mobile traffic, which I would be surprised of, but if that is truly the case, then having a mobile unfriendly ranking is not going to affect your desktop ranking, not at this stage anyway. All right. So I'm just going to flick back to the Hangout, guys. And I'm going to hang around and answer any of your questions. All right, just scrolling down the box here. So for those of you that are wondering, yes, there will be a replay of this webinar. It will be sent out probably in the next hour or so. So if there's anything you've missed, by all means, go over the replay and pick it up from there. Looking through. Let's see. So Michelle, can you share what SEO tools you use / like? Depends which end you're talking from, whether you're talking about SEO optimization tools or SEO tools in terms of keyword research and rank tracking. In terms of keyword research and rank tracking, we are a fan of Market Samurai. It has some great data in terms of search volumes. It has some really good tools in terms of suggesting what longer tail keywords might be useful for you. So instead of competing in a market where there's millions of people going for life coach, for instance, it will help you drill down to not just the Life Coach Melbourne example I used, that maybe some of the other ones that have got lower search volume, but certainly lower competition as well. It also helps you understand which keywords are or have buying intent effectively. So which keywords do people search on when they're looking to actually purchase something versus which keywords do people search when they're just looking for information about a topic. And if you're looking to make money, you want to be coming up in the searches for those ones that are the searches that people do when they're looking to buy. Okay, it's great to rank #1 for a general information search, but if people are just doing that to get information, they're not looking to buy, it's not going to help you much. Whereas if they're at the point that they want to hand some money over, that's the search you want to be coming up high in. In terms of, Market Samurai will do that side of it. It'll also track your rank against particular keywords you want to track over time. In terms of on your site and actually optimizing for keywords, Yoast's SEO plugin is probably the industry standard. if you don't want to go to that level, then just the SEO functionality built into the Genesis framework is pretty good as well. We certainly always start at that level. If we are serious about going after a particular market, then we may use the Yoast plugin. But we, for our site, tend to focus more on social traffic rather than SEO particular traffic. So we don't have that level of optimization on that site. We have it on other sites. So I hope that answers your question. Just looking at other questions here. Sorry, just oops. Caitlin, very glad you got value out of it. Caitlin, that's great. Mick, the screenshots were not that clear for you. It's not a localized issue. There are some screen quality issues with the Google Hangout. Sometimes it's not always the clearest. I think it's a bandwidth issue. If you couldn't read them on the webinar, Mick, have a look at the replay, because they will come up recorded from my screen effectively, which was clear. So you'll be able to get more detail there. Lana, great, thank you. Welcome aboard. I will have a look, and you should have received a scheduling link when you signed up. So just go ahead and schedule your time in. I look forward to talking to you soon. Michelle, what was the name of that tool? Oh, Market Samurai. Okay. Yeah. Market Samurai. There you go. Oops, that's not where I wanted to put it. There you go. If you search on that, you should be able to find it. If you have any trouble finding it, by all means, shoot me an email and I will find a link. In fact, what I'll do is I'll find a link to it before I shut the chat box down. I'll put in the chat box, therefore it should go in the recording. Check the replay. It's good. Opinion on backlinks these days. Okay, Michelle, very interesting question. Backlinks certainly in the earlier days of SEO were the bee's knees, and that was pretty much what determined your ranking. Unfortunately, the black hat SEOs, the people who gamed the system, really spoiled it for the rest of us. Basically, they got it to a point where between their link farms and all sorts of things, Google basically went, you know what, people are gaming the system here. It's not just about backlinks. We have to look at some other ranking factors and determine who really is the authority. Backlinks are a very easy thing to scam, I guess. You know, people could easily set up a farm of servers and sites and basically cross-link everything, or they could set up get people to manually go into sites and set up links and whatnot. So in terms of the weight they carry in Google's eyes, certainly nowhere near what it used to be. Okay. Now, that said, if you can get a backlink from a quality site that is in your industry, that has your target market, then it's worth doing. Okay. Not so much from it will give you a benefit in Google's eyes point of view, but if it really is your target market that site has as their audience, and you can offer value to that target market and to that audience, then it is definitely worth having that link. Okay, but you don't want to just go out and buy backlinks from anywhere. Like, I would never buy backlinks. Okay, never buy backlinks. It's just not worth it. You want to set up relationships with people who serve similar target markets and share your resources. Okay, so if you can find, I'm trying to think of an example here. So Life Coach, let's continue that example. And what else do your life coaching customers need / want? You know, where are your customers when they're not your customers? For instance, if they are, you know, you're going after the corporate market and teaching people work-life balance or that sort of thing, where do the corporate set hang out? You know, it might be a business related site or a you know, something like that. Find sites where they would hang out, talk to those site owners about how you can add value to their audience, and then they will give you, or potentially give you, a link. But you can't just sort of approach people and say, hey, chuck this link on your site. I think it'd be good. Relationships now, because people are very, very protective of the audiences they build up on their sites. Like, if people come to me and say, hey, can you put a link to my site on your site, I'm going to go, well, how is that going to add value to my audience? And if it is, great, then let's, you know, do a post, or let's put a link on there or something, and, you know, share with my audience how you can help them. But yeah, you better have a good reason why or how you're going to help them. Otherwise, you know, there's no use linking to you. So I hope that helps. Okay, Michelle, agree. So now what sites... So now what are sites doing? It must be expensive to hire English-speaking people to write and solicit backlinks, yes. Or are there tools to find backlinks and automate getting the backlinks? Yeah, look, there are a lot of tools out there to automate this sort of thing. As I said, there are link farms set up where you can submit your link to a service and they will spread it across gosh knows how many sites. Some of them are quite expensive. Some of them are rather cheap. Again, I think any of those are a waste of money. You'd be better off spending your time finding out where your target market hangs out and talking specifically to those site owners about how you can help their audience. Okay, much better use of your time, much better use of your money. It really is of no use just spreading your links far and wide. They're not going to help you in Google, and if they're not in front of your target market, they're not going to be of any use. Okay, so just don't waste your money on chasing backlinks. Concentrate on doing, you know, creating value for your audience and then sharing that value with similar audiences. Question here, am I doing other webinars, and when and on what topics? Yes, I will be doing more webinars. The plan is to do webinars maybe every fortnight to start with, but moving towards doing webinars every week if possible. Now that you've signed up to this one, you will be on my list. I will send you details of any future webinars. In terms of topics, well, they'll be wide and varied around the web space. But basically whatever's topical. If you have an idea of something you would like me to talk about, please respond to me through email. Send me a reply and say, hey, I would like a webinar on X, or I would like to learn something about this, or whatever it is. Whatever it is that you guys need, that's what I'm going to help you with. Okay, got a lot of knowledge locked up here, and sometimes it's just a little bit of a case of, geez, what do I do next? So if you guys tell me what you want to learn, then I can sure give you that information that I've got. Michelle, then those sites have to have higher ranks. Yes, yeah. The whole idea of the link farms is that they work hard on getting ranks. And again, that used to be a lot easier for them when it was all about backlinks and there was all the ways to scam Google. Google is getting smarter and smarter, and it is weeding out the link farms, okay? It really is getting good at working out what's legitimate content versus what is just scamming the system, okay? And if anything smells like it might be scamming the system, I would say stay well clear of it, because if Google hasn't caught up with it yet, it certainly will. You know, the Panda and the Penguin and all those updates really hurt some of those sorts of sites that were relying on not necessarily cheating the system, but certainly relying on not necessarily providing the value. And Google really is in the business of trying to provide value for the people that are searching on the site. Okay, so it's getting smarter and smarter over time at working out exactly which sites are providing that value and which sites are just playing with the algorithm to try and get a benefit. Those sort of benefits will be short-lived. Good quality content will always win out in the end. Okay, well, there's the first suggestion, SEO for WordPress. All right, I will put that on my list. Lana, have I received an appointment scheduler yet? I'll have to check that once I'm off the webinar, because if I try and go and look at it now, everyone's going to see it, and it's probably not the best thing to be seeing my schedule, let me tell you. So I will check into it, and I'll certainly follow up to make sure you got it. If you put it in, like if you schedule it in Calendly, then it should be all good and fine. I'm assuming, by the way you've worded that you got the link and that you've gone through and set up an appointment, so it should all be good. Let's see, walk through WordPress dashboard on where and how to, okay, yep, so I'll schedule one in for WordPress SEO and how to do that. Yeah, Michelle's pretty much on the money there. Install the Yoast plugin, and it is pretty easy, but again, there are so many settings within that plugin, and so many different things you need to be aware of. I will go through and I'll do a webinar on that just to explain to people, because it can be a little bit confusing for some of the newer people. Sorry, just replying to a private message here, guys. Keep those questions coming through. I'll stick around as long as you need for me to answer them all. Pardon me. In a bit of a rush for the WordPress SEO one. All right. I will set that up very soon. If not next week, certainly within the week after that. So, but I'll have to look at my schedule, see what I've got available, and I will set that one up as soon as I can. Very interesting to see that that one's a big one. What reports do you give clients and when? And do they come from tool? Which one? What sort of reports are you talking about here, Michelle? Are these SEO reports, or are these the review reports, or what are we talking? All right, if there's any more questions, guys, please drop them in the chat box. We'll get them answered. Like I said, I'm happy to stick around as long as we need to get all the questions answered for you. Okay, Michelle, yes, you're talking about SEO results. To be honest, I don't do a lot of SEO audits. It's not a place I play in. I tend to help people with the basics and with the setup, but it's not like I don't offer an SEO service as such. I don't do the keyword research. I don't do how you're tracking against that. We do have people we can refer you to if you really want to go into that level. Have the details of a very good SEO person. But yeah, I tend to focus more on the WordPress level and how to get the basics set up. SEO to make sure it all works within WordPress, but in terms of coming up with your keywords and that sort of thing, no, it's too much of a specialist area for me to take on as well. I like to. In fact, this is the same with anything. You want to be going to the best people in any given area. If someone's saying they can do everything, then they're probably not really good at any of those things. Okay, so if someone says they can do social, SEO, websites, and the whole lot, then I'd be a little bit careful about how good they are at any one of those. See you, Mick. Hope the kids have fun at tennis. That's great. All right, so any more questions, guys? Just like I said, drop them in the chat box. Let me know. If everyone's done, then I won't hold you up any further than I have to. But yeah, I want to make sure everyone gets their questions answered before they leave. All right, I'll just give people a minute or two more to come up with any final questions. It looks like we're coming to the end of the questions now. So yeah, last call. If you've got any final questions, drop them in the box. I'll get them answered right now. Otherwise, we will let you go. You'll see that I've just put up a link to the website review again, just in case any of you want to take up that offer. So let me just, while the last questions are coming in, find you a link for Market Samurai. Eric, yes, it is recorded. There will be a replay sent out probably in the next hour or so via email. So as long as you were registered, you will get that replay. Pardon me. So there's the link to Market Samurai. That is our affiliate link, but like I said, we use it. The reason we recommend it is because we use it and we think it's the best tool there is in the SEO research market. All right, guys, one more minute just for any final questions, and then we might call this to a close. All right, guys, it doesn't seem like there's any more questions, so I'm going to just call the webinar to a close there. Thanks very much for watching. It's been great having you, and I'll catch you on the next one.